Progressive. This is the ACC on ESPN tonight from Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke. The Clemson Tigers come rolling in. The Blue Devils in the thick of the fight in the early part of the ACC race as we head toward the midway point. And there is a log jam at the top. Teams with 2 losses in conference play. Miami and Florida State leading the way. The Blue Devils only 2 losses coming at the hands of the Hurricanes and the Seminoles. Notre Dame also in the mix, and Clemson trying to score a big road win. Reese Davis and Jay Billis here. You were here on Saturday when Duke put together a splendid performance against Syracuse, one of its best of the season.
Yeah, I think Mike Krzyzewski felt like the effort they gave against Syracuse with the deep dive they did on defense got them back to where he felt like they were pre-pause. And it was a great effort offensively where they had over 20 assists, but more importantly, it was magnificent on the defensive end. And I think that's something they'd like to carry over against Clemson. And Clemson runs great offense. This is a capable basketball team that's a very good three-point shooting team. They make almost 9 per game, and with Brad Brownell's 5-out offense, the tendency would be, hey, let's protect the basket with all their back cuts and slips and things they do with P.J. Hall, their best player. But the truth is, you'd better protect that three-point line, not just in transition, but in the half court as well.
Duke has been very good on three-point defense, and the pause that Jay mentioned as a result of COVID, about 10 days in which the Blue Devils really didn't do anything basketball related, but you see guys starting to round into form. No Trevor Keels again tonight, still recovering from that lower leg injury, so Jeremy Roach is back in the starting lineup for the Blue Devils, and at the opening tip, the ball goes out of bounds, and it'll be on this end, and it'll be Clemson basketball. Clemson's starting lineup: Alamir Dawes, Hunter Tyson, David Collins, P.J. Hall, and Chase Hunter. That's Alamir Dawes, who has the ball out of bounds. Blue Devils watching the first shot of the night go in. Hunter Tyson gives Clemson a 2-0 lead.
Hunter Tyson wide open off that quick cut. And he's only 5 of 19 from the field in his last 3 games. So getting his first one to go down, that's important not only for him, but for Clemson as well to get off to a good start.
Wendell Moore Jr. taking the ball out of bounds for the Blue Devils. Paulo Banchero along with Jeremy Roach. Mark Williams, who leads the ACC in blocked shots, and A.J. Griffin, a splendid shooter, had a great performance against Syracuse on Saturday, making 5 triples and shooting nearly 50% from 3 in ACC play in the starting lineup for the Blue Devils tonight.
And without Trevor Keels available for the 2nd straight game after he was injured in that game against Florida State, Jeremy Roach becomes even more important. He was excellent against Syracuse. He had 9 assists, just 1 turnover. His last 2 games, 15 assists, 2 turnovers.
First 3 ball on the way, and it's knocked down from Wendell Moore. Moore averaging 15 points per game. He's done a little bit of everything for the Blue Devils.
And that shows the power of penetration. You penetrate, it collapses that defense. There's Tyson pretty wide open inside. Just had to go over the top, couldn't get it to go.
Duke has a huge size advantage, not only in the post, but also out on the perimeter, so rebounds will be a little bit difficult to come by for the gentleman in orange. Here's Griffin going in the paint, and it's a block and a chance for a 3-point play.
Ladies and gentlemen, a block has been called in college basketball. We might want to mark this down. Not sure whether P.J. Hall might have just had his right foot on the line, but just came up a bit. And as you know how I feel about that, I think 90% of those plays are blocks, and 90% of them are called charges.
Goes in favor of the offense, so Moore hits one from behind the stripe. Griffin adds an old-fashioned 3-point play. And it's 6-2 Blue Devils, and a quick start is something Brad Brownell wanted from Clemson. Can't afford to get behind this team early.
They're going to have to handle Duke's pressure, not just their ball pressure, but Duke is looking a little more old school with their ability to get out in passing lanes, try to force you a little further out on the field.
How about Chase Hunter into the starting lineup now for Clemson and playing the best basketball of his career?
Last 2 games, over 12 points per game, 8 of 13 from the field. And Brad Brownell talked about his confidence growing and growing, that he's the one player on this team that can make contested challenge shots that are really difficult.
Griffin penetrating again. And Collins Collins, the transfer from USF, has the rebound.
Collins undersized, but he sticks his nose in there and really rebounds.
Gives the Tigers a little toughness, a little attitude. Here's P.J. Hall, who's improved in every facet of his game, including perimeter shooting, but that one won't go down.
He's made 17 threes on the season. He's going to try to draw Mark Williams away from the basket as much as possible to involve him in some ball screen situations, try to get him away from the rim. Here's a switch, Hall on Banchero.
Griffin tried to find Williams, and the Blue Devils turn it over. Here is Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K's curtain call. He's won the last 19 times that Clemson has been in here. This game arriving on the 7th anniversary of Mike Krzyzewski winning his 1,000th game.
Wide open on the back screen. Beautiful play. Not enough pressure on the ball to take away vision. And early on, Clemson trying to lift up this Duke defense. That's their 5-out set. You know, they don't have a postman down there, so they're really trying to lift Duke up and then get things cutting to the basket.
Hunter has 5 of Clemson's first 7 points. Here's Williams in there.
Good pass.
And a good finish from Banchero, the 5-time ACC Freshman of the Week.
It was just a great look by Williams, looking inside into the lane, into the middle, to see if there's any help coming. You can either make a move, but he looked out of the corner of his eye and saw Paolo Banchero wide open in the corner.
There's Brad Brownell, surprisingly, in his 12th season at Clemson. The time has passed quickly. He's the winningest coach in Tiger history with 212 wins, saying that this is the one place in the ACC on the list where he's still looking to bring the Tigers in and get a victory. Clemson's been on the road a lot, Jay, in the early part of the schedule. The schedule is going to turn for them coming down the stretch with a lot more home games, where frankly they've played a lot better over the last couple of years.
What I want to know is, by holding up his sheet there, who is he keeping that play call away from?
And offensive foul is going to be called on Banchero. Well, Paolo Banchero gets his first. Okay, your thoughts on that type of offensive foul? I know you like to give the advantage to the offense, but off the pass, let the defender at established position. Were you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not advantage to the offense. It's just calling it the right way. When guys are sliding in underneath, those secondary defenders especially, those are blocks all the time, and they're called charges way too often. It's sort of a pet peeve of mine, but it's just miscalled too often.
Alamir Dawes misses. Williams cleans it away for the Blue Devils. Here goes Roach. Banchero ahead of everybody.
That's where Duke Reese is especially dangerous. 4 different players can grab a rebound and bring it up on their own. They don't need to make an outlet, and that frees you up to really run the floor, not just to the three-point line, but to the rim as well, and that's what Banchero did ahead of the pack.
Banchero cut off on the drive. Now, Roach rejects the screen from him, and Roach tries to get the lob to Williams. Williams collects it, and Clemson with stingy defense, and Banchero is going to be called for his second foul. So Paolo Banchero, who brought the crowd to its feet, just picked up his second foul as the Blue Devils grab an early 4-point lead. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. And in part by the Sonic Patty Melt for a limited time only at Sonic.
Back to Duke, where the Blue Devils have an 11-7 early lead, and as you've seen, Trevor Keels is out of the game for the second straight time since injuring his right leg in the second half against Florida State. The good news, though, is that Keels did dress for shoot-around. He had a sleeve on his right calf, and while he didn't participate in the walk-around, afterwards he got on the floor and put up shots for the first time. And guys, I saw him be able to shift his weight. He was jumping off his right leg and testing his mobility. So definitely a good sign in the direction of Duke getting him back on the floor. And as you mentioned, Jeremy Roach, a heck of a game on Saturday. 9 assists, 1 turnover in 28 minutes against Syracuse.
And Brookie was able to overcome an off shooting night. Those two guys were high school teammates. St. Paul, the 6th high school. Virginia. Trevor's from Maryland originally. Jeremy from Leesburg, Virginia. There's P.J. Hall working on Theo John. Graduate transfer from Marquette just checked into the game. Joey Baker also on the floor now for the Blue Devils.
That was just a simple low cross screen with a guard. And then they got a screen down from the top, a screen for the screener action. You're worried about the guard coming out top, and then P.J. Hall gets the post up. And P.J. Hall has to be one of the most improved players, not just in the ACC, but in the country. I mean, he's averaging, close to 15 points per game, 6 rebounds. But when he got that little screen, look at last year, averages 3.5 points a game. This year, close to 15. And he is a really good player. I mean, he's Clemson's best player, but they've got some very capable guards that you start concentrating too much on inside the arc, they start knocking threes down on you. They made 12 against Pittsburgh.
PJ, to give PJ a rest, Ben Middlebrooks is into the game. One of the things PJ's been dealing with is a bit of a foot problem that has limited some stamina because they have to monitor him in practice a little bit as he goes along too. So he'll get a quick break. And Middlebrooks, who's a freshman from Fort Lauderdale, checks into the game. Foul was called on Joey Baker, just checked in for the Blue Devils.
Wouldn't it be nice to have one of those nagging injuries where you couldn't practice as much? Never had one of those.
That's a new school thing back in the old days. Back in our day.
I'm not sure I can go with these suicides, Coach.
Hunter cut off by John as the Blue Devils switch back, and now right through the middle, Collins goes all the way to the bucket.
Right now, Duke has been unable to get out in passing lanes to really make it difficult for Clemson to reverse the ball from side to side. And this is a ball reversal team, and they run really good offense. It's well conceived. They've got a number of set plays that they run, but that 5-out stuff they do is really good stuff. Brad Brownell runs great offense.
Roach gets all the way to the basket, and he draws the foul.
So right now, Clemson's able to throw the ball around the perimeter, and because Collins was able to turn down that ball screen, so he didn't have to go off and use it. He just refused it and cut through defenders. You're trying to take away the strong side corner, so you're not going to help off because it opens up a three, and that just opened up the basket, especially trying to pull Theo John away from the basket. You didn't have anybody there to block a shot or protect the lane.
Jay Collins has given Clemson some toughness. He's also had to adapt. I mean, this is a guy who's used to scoring a lot. He's the 7th all-time leading scorer in USF history, University of South Florida, with more than 1,500 points in his career. He's had a season which he's in the top 20 in the country in steals. Versatile guy. And Clemson, along with Naz Bohannon, who's going to the scorer's table to check in. Collins and Bohannon, a guy that Brownells wanted to give them a little bit of extra fight in the middle, and Tyson tied up on the inside with Bates Jones, who's into the game.
Bates Jones from Charlotte, North Carolina, was a player for Bob McKillop at Davidson, and a heck of a high school quarterback. 6'8", could really sling it. His brother Daniel Jones played football for David Cutcliffe here at Duke, and is now the quarterback for the New York Giants. His sister Ruthie, though, is probably the best athlete in the family. She's a goalkeeper for the Duke soccer team.
There's Joey Baker, who hit a couple, scored in double figures against Syracuse, and knocks one down here.
Well, that's what Joey Baker does best. He's an excellent shooter and makes a ton of hustle plays. Now he's got to guard Alex Hemingway, who's probably the best shooter for this Clemson team.
Hemingway, who comes off the screen, couldn't get it to go. Middlebrooks keeps it alive. Bohannon is able to save it. And now Collins has it working on Baker, and Clemson got the fresh shot clock. Down by 4.
Ball screen continuity here. They run back cuts. Good play by Wendell Moore Jr. So alert defensively.
There's Nick Honor with a turnover. Wendell gives it back, and Baker just grabbed Collins in the backcourt. That's 2 on Joey.
Well, a little too aggressive for Wendell Moore Jr. there. He probably should have given the ball up a little bit earlier, but his defense, he's had a great year as an all-around player, but his defense has been outstanding.
You see what Wendell's been able to do on He's second in the ACC in assists, scoring about 15 points per game, taking care of the basketball, last play notwithstanding.
Yeah, the leader in assists in the conference is Alondis Williams of Wake Forest. He's leading the league in both scoring and assists, and no player in ACC history has ever done that for a single season. That's remarkable.
Collins goes right by the freshman Jalen Blakes, who just checked into the game for Duke and scores, and he's got 4, and Clemson back within 2.
Well, right now, Duke is just not getting enough pressure on Clemson, and they're able to really run their offense with some degree of comfort. And if you're going to let somebody drive, can't let them drive middle.
Bohannon with excellent defense, blocks the shot, tried desperately to save it, but it'll be Duke ball.
We're getting back to Wendell Moore Jr. His assignment this season is shooting 35% from the field, 26% from 3. He did a remarkable job, I thought, on Buddy Boeheim on Saturday against Syracuse. I mean, Boeheim was never able to breathe throughout the game. He didn't quite face guard him, but it wasn't far off. He didn't help off him. And Moore is so versatile defensively, he can guard any number of positions if he has to switch out.
Boeheim came into the game, I think, second leading scorer in the ACC. Held him to 2 for 15 from the floor. Just one made three-pointer for one of the better three-point shooters in the country. Another turnover for the Blue Devils. That's 5 now. Nick Honor, who's really been struggling to shoot the ball off the bench and knocked one in. He was 0 for 4 against Pitt. He'd made just 2 of his last 18 from beyond the arc.
22% in ACC games, but Nick Honor was an outstanding player at Fordham, and their best free throw shooter, their top assistant.
And the answer from Bates Jones.
Bates Jones is a really good shooter. And at 6'8", can stretch the floor. And a good passer as well. He's got excellent hands.
One guy, even the Blue Bloods using the court. There's Middlebrooks with a strong move, but that's not strong enough to get over the ACC's leading shot blocker. Now running the floor, Williams saves it, not able to catch it and dunk it, but then knocks it off of Middlebrooks, and it'll be Duke basketball. Duke has a 2-point lead, but the real question for the Cameron Crazies is Jay Billis smarter than they are?
Maybe a couple of them, but that's it.
Welcome back to Duke, and we have a full house tonight. And in order to try and get a ticket for Coach K's final home game against North Carolina, Duke students had to study up before they could line up. Yes, thousands of students showed up to take a test that dove deep and wide into the program's history. Couldn't bring a phone, couldn't bring your laptop, no notes. And they got 60 minutes for the test, and the top 70 scorers received a blue tent, which basically means it puts you in better order to get into the North Carolina game. Okay, Jay, you're a smart guy. Now it's time to test your knowledge on the program. So I give you the Cameron Crazies quiz. Question 1. List every Duke player to have a double-double this season.
Wendell Moore, he had a triple-double against Army. Paolo Banchero's had a number of them. Mark Williams has had a number of them.
That is correct. That is correct. Well done, Jay. Well done. Okay. Question number 2. To the nearest 1,000, how many followers does Paolo Banchero have on Instagram? I know you're a big social media guy, Jay. This should be real easy for you.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'll say 310,000.
That is incorrect. That's very generous. He has 193,000.
Needs to get himself out there a little bit more.
You got to help him out. All right, in the preseason, which freshman broke Duke's record for consecutive reps of a 185-pound bench press?
Trevor Keels, and he bench pressed it 18 times, if I remember right.
Oh, you are one off, my friend. I'm so sorry. The answer was 19.
Does that mean I don't have to sleep in a tent tonight?
Now, hopefully a 66% does not accurately reflect your grades while you were here at Duke. Is that right?
It actually does. It's pretty much an improvement.
Well, Coach K would like to see the grades go up on taking care of the basketball. Alamir Dawes just hit a 3 to give Clemson a 1-point lead. Brad Brownell wanted a strong first 10 minutes of the game, and he's gotten it as Bates Jones goes back to work. He hit one from behind the arc. Now a deuce. He has 5 and the Blue Devils back on top.
Smart play by Jeremy Roach. He could have taken that 3 off the long rebound. Instead, drove it through the defense and was able to lay it off to Bates Jones for that finish. Smart play by Roach. A 2-3 zone right now for Duke.
Nas Bohannon, transfer from Youngstown State. He gets his first bucket of the night.
Not sure everybody knew what they were in right away going to that 2-3 zone. And Duke went to a 2-3 zone late, about 6-7 minutes to go against Florida State when they were having a tough time containing the Seminoles off the dribble. And that has been the case thus far in this game. A little bit early. I'm not sure Coach K's gone to the zone that early.
And a tie-up, and the possession arrow goes to Clemson, and more good defense from the Tigers. Who just happened to be joining us. Paulo Banchero picked up a couple of quick fouls. That's the 7th turnover for the Blue Devils. When Banchero picked up his second, Duke had a 2-point lead, and right on cue, Paulo is coming back into the game.
A.J. Griffin went to the bench with a substitution, and after that drive, just too much dribbling and then taking it into trouble with nowhere to go. So Duke going to stick with this 2-3 zone and just sort of change the pace, change the tempo of the game, and give Clemson something to think about.
Connor shoots over the top of it, and he can't get it, and Williams with the rebound. Now that made Duke more willing to put Banchero back into the game to play more zone, perhaps protect him from the danger of picking up that 3rd foul.
I think that's exactly right. It obviously gives him way more offensive punch with his ability. And right here, he's got an isolation on the left side of the floor just above the block, but well defended by Nas Bohannon.
Moore got a hand on it, but knocked it out of bounds. Clemson will have the ball up by 1. Coming up next over on ESPN and the app, 9 Eastern Time, Super Tuesday triple header rolls on Kentucky and Mississippi State. Wildcats coming off that loss to Auburn. And how about Arizona and UCLA? You know, it's the first top 10 matchup for Arizona since 2017. Lloyd's got a strong team. UCLA's playing well.
Well, P.J. Hall had a great opportunity to make that little jump hook right by the basket. Mark Williams may have affected it a little bit. Good pass.
Arrow to Roach. And he can't quite find the range. Block out by Clemson, lets him get the rebound off the bounce, and then Collins got a little excited and shuffled his feet. The Tigers in the 8-minute media timeout with a 21-20 lead in camp.
Kev Fontaine, coach in studio. No Coburn or Curbelo, coach. So why is Michigan State trailing?
Michigan State's really struggling in the ball screen defense. Trent Frazier, 10 points, is really dialing them up coming up that high ball screen.
22-14 lead over on ESPN. Meantime, Fonz, Villanova, Alabama, both in front.
Yeah, when you play against Alabama, you got run Jaden Shackelford off the 3-point line. He's 5 of 7 from 3 for 16 points here already.
Back to Cameron Indoor, Reese and Jay.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Bracketology, Joe Lenardi. You see the number of Big Ten teams getting in. You heard the guys mention Curbelo and Kofi Coburn not playing for Illinois tonight. ACC with only 5 teams. You see opportunity, Jay, for that number to grow as Baker hits another 3.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are certainly some capable teams, but the problem is you have to beat the top teams in the conference. So Duke, Miami, Florida State, those are the high-value targets that you have to go out and get.
P.J. Hall, the nice feed right to the elbow, knocks down the jumper, tied at 23. P.J. has 4.
Boy, it's so nice when you can put players that can make that mid-range shot in the middle of the zone, and Clemson's got a few options. But Paulo Banchero, the last possession, did such a good job of passing out of the double team. That's ultimately what got Joey Baker his shot. And he has done a very good job, Banchero has, of reading defenses and finding others' shots. And here against the zone, watch number 24, P.J. Hall. He just flashes in from behind Theo John. And he's got the ability to hit that 17 to 19-foot shot. And he's got such a solid low base. It's hard to knock him off his spot because he's strong and a good athlete.
Theo John working on Hall. Now the last foul, by the way, was called on Hunter Tyson. Neither team in the bonus yet. There's a one-hand runner from Roach, and John got the rebound, and Chase Hunter was trying for all of his might to try to deal with the bigger guy, and is called for the foul, Brooke.
Yeah, P.J. Hall, one of the most improved players in the ACC this year, up 11 points, 4 rebounds, and even has increased his three-point shooting by about 20%. So last summer, he worked with assistant coach Antonio Reynolds-Dean, and he took him into the gym in his first workout. It was empty, and he said, look around. Amir Sims isn't here anymore. You are now the guy. And Dean said it elevated him to a whole new way of thinking. So Hall got to work. He went and got in better shape. He cut out sweet tea. He added some good carbs. But he said the biggest difference was setting a goal to make 5 to 10 threes in a row. If he didn't, he said he ran. He said the days I wasn't shooting well were the days I got better because I got tired and I had to put up more shots.
Well, cutting out sweet tea is an awfully big sacrifice to make for your career, but having Antonio Reynolds-Dean work with you, Antonio Reynolds-Dean was a great player. He played at Rhode Island, played for Al Skinner and then Jim Herrick, and he played with a great cast around him with Tyson Wheeler and Catino Mobley, Luther Clay. That was a heck of a ball club.
Well, we were talking about that team before the game and almost came within an eyelash of going to the Final Four. Alamir Dawes knocks down another three. Clemson headed toward the 6-minute mark with a 3-point lead. Dawes has hit a couple of three-pointers. He's shooting better than 40% from behind the arc this season.
Well, give Clemson all the credit, but Duke has not looked sharp in this first half, and Clemson has been razor sharp in their execution.
And Carroll thought about it. Now to Baker, who's already hit a couple of them, make a three for Joey Baker. He's got 9.
Alamir Dawes helped off of Baker and really overhelped, because you're not going to stop that drive from the wing. All you did was open up a 3-point shot for a very good shooter in Joey Baker.
Good cut from Tyson. Tremendous feed from Hall. Actually, 2 good passes on that play.
And when the pass was made to Hall, it was intentional to get the ball to Tyson. He was playing behind the defense along the baseline. That was just really good execution by Clemson.
Clemson now running. Hemingway, that is his spot, and comes up a little bit short. Loves to shoot for 3 in transition. Really loves to shoot any time he gets a look. Baker feeling it. That one rattles out.
Hemingway put good pressure on Joey Baker as he was getting that shot off. That might have been a good time for a shot fake and perhaps a drive.
Baker's been around here a while, reclassified and joined the freshman class with Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett. There's Hemingway off the screen, and there is the shooter from Clemson, and Tigers have their biggest lead, 31-26.
That's just a set play for Alex Hemingway to bring him off of the left corner and then up the gut for the handoff where he could shoot behind a bigger player.
Wendell Moore from just inside the arc. Theo John was fighting for it last to touch it. It'll be Tiger basketball.
Here's the pass. Collins knew that Tyson was open and got the ball to Hall so he could make the pass. When the defense converges on Hall, that means that Theo John's got to come up and guard him. That opened up that baseline cut. Just really good offense and a really smart play by David Collins to get the ball to Hall.
Collins gets the hockey assist.
That should be a stat. That's a really good point.
Clemson has buckets from 8 different players. They haven't won here since 1995 and headed toward the 4-minute mark of the first half. Brad Brownell's team, who just stopped a 3-game losing streak with a big win over Pittsburgh, is up by 5. Hunter Tyson muscles it up over Bates Jones. Tyson now fighting for the rebound, and A.J. Griffin, who's back in for Duke, grabs it.
I think in 1995, Rick Barnes was the coach of Clemson.
I believe he was, and that was the last game. As Williams has a chance for a 3-point play before Coach K's back surgery. It's been a long time since Clemson has been able to win here, and there's a long way to go in this one, but the Tigers off to a good start. But the Devils have a powerhouse inside, and Mark Williams, who does more than block shots.
Mark Williams is an emerging star in this game.
Halftime report is on the way. Coming up, we'll check in on a top 25 battle in the Big Ten. Plus, we'll chat with UCLA head coach Mick Cronin in advance of the big one with Arizona tonight. A lot to like about Clemson so far, Fonz.
Well, I love what they're doing. When you play against Duke, you got to mitigate their transition game, Seth. The shot selection for Clemson's been really good. They've not turned the basketball, only over 2 transition points for Duke.
And they got 12 points off turnovers, which is huge, obviously, for Clemson. Jay, how much pressure on this Duke team having to be ready to play every single night because of who they are and their program?
You know, that's a great point, Seth, and it's something that I think a lot of young players, whether it's at Duke or North Carolina or Michigan State, you name it, when you're the target in the league or a target nationally, you're going to get everybody's best shot. And it's something when you're watching a team on film, you have to remind the players, hey, this isn't the team we're going to get. Everything they do is going to be at the highest level.
P.J. Hall from just inside the circle. Williams with the rebound. That's 6 for him off the glass. Really, turnovers have been the biggest issue for the Blue Devils. They're shooting it well, and they only average about 11 a game, but they already have 8 here in the first 17 minutes of the game.
Similar thing happened in the first half against Syracuse, where Duke had some uncharacteristic turnovers. It's really been a team that has been very low turnover throughout the course of the year. What did you say, it's 10, 11 a game. That's sort of Wisconsin or Virginia territory, but with a lot more possession.
9th annual Big 12 SEC Challenge Saturday. 3 more games on ESPN and the app. Number 4 Baylor goes to Coleman Coliseum to take on up and down Alabama, then Kansas and Kentucky. College Game Day's back on the road for that one in prime time, and Shulman and Jay will have the call. That was a couple of blue bloods and a couple of orange bloods, Tennessee and Texas. That's a nightcap. The Irwin Center, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy.
Pretty good week for us to be at Cameron Indoor Stadium, which I consider a cathedral of the game, and go to Allen Fieldhouse. What a great steal by Wendell Moore Jr.
And Moore gives Duke the lead. Brad Brownell doesn't want to see that late half run that Duke had against Syracuse last week. Back to Cameron in 30 seconds.
Into passing lanes against a ball reversal team. And a little bit of a lazy pass to try to get a reversal to David Collins, and Wendell Moore Jr. read that perfectly and able to take it the other way. But that's sort of the old school idea of Duke defense, is pressure the ball and then get out in passing lanes to force the opponent further out on the floor. And look where Alex Hemingway's catching the ball right now to start the Clemson offense.
That was what Mike Krzyzewski talked about in shoot-around today, was making Clemson run its offense way out. P.J. Hall over Williams, no good. Tyson offensive rebound, too much. Williams took one right in the kisser from Hall. No foul call, but Duke scored the last 6 points and trying to build their lead. Here's Moore working on Collins. Hall blocks it. Wendell a little slow to get up.
Everything's set up there just for that drive.
Dawes to Collins, uses the rim nicely, and a follow by P.J. Hall, and Clemson has the lead. That's a half dozen for Hall, who averages right at 15 per night.
And a good offensive rebounder, but when Mark Williams goes after a block shot, if he doesn't get it, that opens up the offensive glass. That means the responsibilities on other white shirts to get there and compete. And P.J. Hall just beat everybody to that ball.
Hemingway digging down on Williams, and the foul is going to be called on the guard coming down to help out P.J. Hall. Be in the 1-and-1. Hunter Tyson will go to the bench and get a break. Here is Williams. Williams shooting just under 70% from the line on the season.
Well, Mark Williams is having an extraordinary year. I mean, he was magnificent against NC State. He played 27 minutes, but had 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 blocks. Had a 4-game stretch where he blocked 20 shots in 4 games. And he is a true presence around the rim that can not only block shots, but he changes so many of them.
Jay's made his only field goal attempt tonight, which means he's made 22 of his last 28 shots from the floor, too. Takes a lot of high percentage ones. But you watch him in practice, and it still looks as if he's growing and developing physically. And he altered that shot from Hall, who knew he was going to get it blocked. And now there's going to be an offensive foul called on Wendell Moore, who discarded Collins.
I wonder if they have to go look at this on replay. Collins was behind him. And apparently the referee thought that Wendell Moore threw his arm out right into Collins, and whether he caught him in the head.
Watching it live, I thought there was no doubt that he did to me. Now, whether it was intentional.
Yeah, that's not in the head. It's an offensive foul. There's no question he threw that right arm out, but it hit him in the chest. And, was there extra that went into that? You're darn right there was. There's no way you can be running straight forward and be knocked backwards like that with, Wendell Moore's strong. He's not that strong. But it was a foul. There's no question about that. This shouldn't take very long. That's just a common foul.
One that will take an offensive opportunity away from Duke, already sitting on 9 turnovers. Minute 25 here to play in the first half. Banchero has played a good portion of the half, though he's not in the lineup right now with 2 fouls. Our officiating crew of Ron Groover, Mike Roberts, Randy Stein, and play stands as called. Common foul, just as Mr. Billis assumed, and was the right call, too. It was a forceful collision between a couple of strong guys. And thought for a second that Collins might be about to get a break. Both guys will stay out there. Just make sure there are no tempers here in the closing moments. Wendell Moore was talking to Ron Groover, and Clemson has the ball down 1 as we're at the 1:20 mark in the first half. Here is Collins and Moore, who've gotten to know each other quite well over the last few trips. Here's Collins spinning in the lane, lifts Wendell, and it's blocked away. His second block shot for Williams, and now Duke has it. The lead, just over a minute to go in the first half. Griffin step back from Collins, and Hall did a good job keeping Williams off the board.
Not sure those baseline drives are exactly what Duke wants. I think they'd rather get a drive into the middle.
All of the jump hook that rattled out. They'll talk it over at Blue Devils basketball. It's 41.2 left to play in the half.
Mike Krzyzewski wanted to get his use it or lose it timeout. And thinking about perhaps with 41 seconds left, the opportunity for a 2-for-1 here. So you'd have to advance the ball awfully quickly. But there is that opportunity if you can get it up in the first 4 or 5 seconds.
Let's see if they can get the ball into someone's hands to do that. In the meantime, 5 men's basketball games coming up for you Saturday on ESPN and app. You'll see these Blue Devils take on Louisville. Some turmoil percolating there at noon Eastern time. Then Auburn, #1 for the first time in school history, hosting Oklahoma, part of the 9th annual Big 12 SEC Challenge.
Auburn is the #1 team in the country, and rightfully so, given their resume and what they've accomplished, that win they had over Kentucky. And the lion's share of the praise has been going to Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, and rightfully so with that. But Wendell Green Jr. is really good. I mean, they've got good guards. They've got depth. They come at you in waves. That is going to be a tough out for anybody going against Auburn.
Boy, they're fun to watch. They're explosive. They're tough. And you get a chance to see how they fare. That's a great atmosphere, too, at Auburn Arena. After the Pearl is built ahead. They had people camping out for the Kentucky game. They're ready to roll. Toomer's corner. And Collins came over to foul Williams before he could dunk it. Mark will go back to the free throw line.
Just a little stack set. They ran cutters off, and P.J. Hall wound up fronting Mark Williams. He just threw right over the top, and Collins just a little bit late. Had to foul him to keep him from dunking it for another momentum play going into halftime.
Only one foul on Collins. Here's Williams. Makes another free throw and marked out 3 for 4 from the free throw line.
I think with the presence that Mark Williams has been all season long, you have to start considering him as a candidate for National Defensive Player of the Year. He and we mentioned Walker Kessler of Auburn. There are no two better shot blockers, shot changers in the country than Williams and Kessler.
He is a force unlike anything the Blue Devils have really had in the middle in the number of years. They've had great players, but shot blocker, post presence, and now developing as a scorer gives him yet another weapon. Roach really putting the heat on Dawes, and just before the half, how about the answer from P.J. Hall to tie it up? Now Duke with a chance to take the lead going into the break. Griffin puts it up, and that's how we'll go to break. An entertaining first half. Duke and Clemson tied at 36. P.J. Hall hitting the 3 late in the half. He has 9. He was 4 of 11 from the floor, and Brad Brownell is with Brooke. Brooke?
Coach, your team has 12 points off of Duke turnovers. What's making your defense so effective?
I just think we're flying around. We're being aggressive. Kids are playing really hard, and we've gotten our hands on some balls and been able to get an open court.
Paulo Banchero with 2 fouls in the first half. How do you think he'll respond coming out?
Oh, he'll be aggressive. We got our hands full.
Thank you.
19 straight losses for Clemson in this building. Haven't won since 1995. There's Banchero. He'll continue to be aggressive, but Clemson's in this thing. E-Trade halftime report coming up. Kevin Connors, LaFonso Ellis, and Seth Greenberg have everything going on in college basketball right now. Presented by Progressive. Duke and Clemson about to start the second half. Tigers and Blue Devils tied at 36. Duke star Paulo Banchero played just a little over 9 minutes. Paulo got a couple of quick fouls, spent a lot of time on the bench, had only 5 points. Clemson forced turnovers and an 11-point underdog as it tied at half. Reese Davis, Jay Billis for Blacksburg is on the sideline. So what do you expect to see different in the second half?
Well, I think initially Duke is going to come out with more pressure, try to get out in passing lanes. And your point about Banchero having him back out on the floor for extended minutes is an important one. I think for Clemson, they forced those 9 Duke turnovers. Duke's got to take better care of the ball. But Clemson did a good job of finding open three-point shots. They went 6 of 12 from 3 in that first half. So finding shooters and staying with them is going to be important for Duke. But you had to be impressed with the way Clemson played that first half. This is a good basketball team that played a really strong first half. The question is, in the first 4 minutes of the second half, can they withstand the pressure they're about to see? I think they can, but can they do it for the second 20 minutes?
As we start the second half, let's check in with Brooke, who talked to John Shire.
And pretty much exactly what Jay was talking about with the pressure and defense. John Shire said, listen, they just played harder than we did. We got ourselves into some trouble with obviously Paulo being out with 2 fouls. But this team has yet to feel our pressure. Those were his exact words. And surprising for Duke, who's held teams to 30% or below the last 7 times from behind the three-point line. Clemson guys shooting 50% in this game.
Yeah, Brooke, Clemson had hit a little rough patch. They're the second best three-point shooting team in the ACC, but they snapped out of it with a dozen triples against Pittsburgh, and on target for that again tonight against the Duke defense. And since the calendar has turned to 2022, is holding teams right around 20%, a little over, as Paulo Banchero gets his first bucket of the second half.
Just gave a little jab step move, got into the middle, and Hunter Tyson did a good job to stop him right at the ACC mark of the lane. But Banchero's able to pivot and still shoot over. That's a difficult shot, but he makes that routinely.
Hall missed a 3. Chase Hunter, who dealt with a couple of fouls in the first half that limited his minutes as well, back on the floor, missed the foul. Duke with the ball in a 2-point lead. Banchero lost it out of bounds, last touch by the Tigers.
In that spot right around the elbow, whenever Banchero dribbles to his right, you have to be prepared for him to spin back to the left. He is so good at that, and he's so physically imposing that when he makes that spin, he is really difficult to stop.
Early on, we mentioned the size advantage the Blue Devils have. Just look at the size advantage that Banchero has on Hunter Tyson. Tyson 6'8" himself, and Tyson fouls him, and the shot goes down.
Well, Reese, that is just a lethal combination of skill and size and strength. And we talked about Banchero being physically imposing, and Tyson knew it as soon as he left the floor. You notice I never say anymore, he left his feet. remember Steve Yoder, the great coach at Wisconsin, spent a million years in the NBA as a scout. He approached me one time and says, "Why do you guys always say leave your feet? You can't leave your feet, you leave the floor. When you jump, your feet go with you."
Yoder had a lot of time on his hands to dissect the minutiae of broadcasting, did he?
Great cut.
Tyson getting a little redemption and answering. He now has a half-dozen, 3-point lead for Duke.
Tyson ran like he was going to set a ball screen, saw his defender was just above him, and then slipped to the basket. That's a great read by Hunter Tyson.
Well, Roach almost turned it over, dribbled it off his foot. Now Roach finds an open lane and slams it home. That's Jeremy's first field goal, and it has the crazies a lot, hoping to push this to a more comfortable margin.
P.J. Hall out top is being used as a pressure release.
Rattles out on Hunter. Banchero with the rebound.
Right now, Duke trying to really spread the floor. That gives Banchero one-on-one opportunities against that matchup with Tyson.
Here comes Collins. Paint touch, and now Alamir Dawes calling for the screen from Hall. Let's see if Dawes can get to the bucket. He finds the shooter, the extra pass. Hunter, one dribble and knocks down the three. Chase Hunter now with 8.
That's just beautiful basketball. Great ball movement.
Williams.
Boy, Reese, how much pressure does Mark Williams put on an opposing big guy to run the floor? After that ball goes through the net, he just had a rim run down to the other end, and that really forces P.J. Hall to run the floor.
Hunter Tyson loads one up from deep. Griffin with the rebound.
Important stretch right here for Clemson to get a stop.
Griffin, good shooter from out there. Back iron, and the offensive rebounds chased down by Banchero. Roach lost it, got it back. Pinballs around, last touch. On this in by Clemson, I believe.
Clemson has had some open looks, but some of these shots have been a little bit quick. That last one by Tyson probably, well, he makes that shot. Here's an easy one.
Biggest lead of the night for the Blue Devils at a half-dozen. Banchero is now up to 6. He averages almost 18 a night. Had just 5 in the first half.
It couldn't have been an easier cut out of that stacked set. That seems simple. Stay between your man and the basket, make him run through your chest. Good pass.
P.J. Hall with the finish, the assist coming from Chase Hunter.
And then Hall having to really sprint back to get with Williams. They just put Clemson trying to put Mark Williams in as many ball screens as they can to try to open up the floor a little bit.
Roach uses the left. Bohannon got a hand on it. Can Clemson save it? They can. Alamir Dawes gets it, and Hunter's ahead of the field. He missed the layup, but he gets it back, and Clemson can reset.
Heard Banchero's footsteps.
Collins for 3, and it nestles home. And Clemson keeps fighting back. That's 7 for the transfer from USF.
Boy, that's a heck of an answer by Clemson. You kind of felt like if Duke gets another score there, they might be able to stretch this out a bit. That's a great answer by the Tigers. Here comes the double.
And the skip to Moore from the corner.
But Banchero has really improved his passing. Had one double, the second one came. He just looked opposite to Moore. That's a heck of a pass by Paolo Banchero.
Duke has been passing it well 3 straight games with 20 assists. If they can reach that mark tonight, it will be their longest such run in 25 years. Collins kicks it out. Hunter had a look, turned it down. Now Hall has an open one. He'll take it. That one never had a chance. Moore's got Williams running to the rim again, but Hall's able to get between him and the ball.
I think they'll take a look at Banchero, try to isolate him.
Wendell Moore all the way to the bucket, acrobatic shot, and he draws the foul and will go to the line to shoot a couple.
Paolo Banchero, a presence on the offensive end, gets a double team, second one comes, and then he's able to see across to Wendell Moore Jr., gets his feet set and knocks it down.
Sound mad, but this place is about to get even louder.
Look at this. This is the best of the best.
This is best of all time territory. Number 12, Kentucky. Number 5, Kansas. Saturday at 6 on ESPN.
Really looking forward to getting College Game Day back on the road. We'll be there Saturday morning before Kentucky, Kansas, in Allen Fieldhouse. And Paolo Banchero has 7 points in 6 minutes of the second half. That's 2 more than he scored in 9 minutes in the first half. Had some foul trouble, but he has asserted himself. But Clemson has continued to fight. Banchero with a dozen. The 2 early fouls as Wendell Moore rolls in the free throw. Solid free throw shooter, and Wendell is now up to 9. Makes this one, he'll be back into double figures.
He's been solid in everything this year. Averaging 15 points, close to 6 rebounds, almost 5 assists. You know, there's not a statistical category that Wendell Moore Jr. is not scratching in, and Collins is down on the other end of the floor. I didn't see him get hit. There was no action. I hope he's okay.
Brad Brownell going over to check out the graduate transfer who played at USF from Youngstown, Ohio. You see him holding his stomach. He
just went right over to the official and went down. And the official smartly blowing the whistle. Hope he's okay. You know, we were talking about Kentucky at Kansas on Saturday for our Sonic Blockbuster. Earlier in the game, I was talking a little bit about, you know, Cameron is a cathedral of basketball, and then Wendell Moore Jr. rudely interrupted by making a fantastic steal and dunk. But the only place that I think that is Cameron's equal is Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, that is the St. Andrews of college basketball.
Nick Honor into the game, makes the shot from the elbow. He's got 5. I was watching Collins as he went to the Clemson bench, Jay, who seemed to be indicating that at some point he had taken a little shot in the gut area, so you hope that's all it is, and they will be able to come back shortly. Banchero kicking it out to Moore.
Banchero has been of late a playmaker as well as a scorer. So he's not just finding his shot, he's been finding shots for others. We've seen him do it in this game. He did it against Syracuse. Just another dimension to his game.
Hunter gets it away from the double. Now it's Bohannon. Can't get the shot. And now, you mentioned this a couple of minutes ago, this feels like a little bit of danger time for Clemson to get a stop more inside the 3-point arc. Bohannon, Honor hunting that 3, and Nick Honor rolls it out, and it's 1 and done for Clemson.
Remember years ago when that would have been called a bad shot, but now with the 3-point line, you can work awfully hard to get that shot, and it's a high value shot. So nothing wrong with Nick Honor pulling the trigger on an open 3 in transition. But it does mean you spend more time on defense.
Banchero has his pocket pick, another Duke turnover. Honor has numbers. Hemingway goes strong, and the block, a chance for a 3-point play for Hemingway, who takes almost all of his shots from behind the arc. Will have a chance to finish a free throw for 3.
And this is an example of Banchero just playing with the ball too much. You know, he's taking it into traffic, but he gave 2 or 3 little juke moves. There's no question that was a block. I mean, none. But that turnover gave Clemson a transition opportunity, and it was a great steal by Honor, but it was a position that I think Banchero put himself in that he didn't need to put himself in.
And how about this, Jay? The first free throw attempt of the night for Clemson.
Pretty remarkable, really.
Here's Hemingway, who's a good three-point shooter, though the free throw percentage he shoots this year does not indicate that. Now he's just 10 out of 16 for the season.
Yeah, maybe he's one of those three-point shooters. He might be better backing up to the top of the key and taking it. Because he is a deadly three-point shooter, especially when he gets his feet set. Clemson switching exchanges.
Roach loses everybody, puts it up. I think Williams thought for a second that might be an alley-oop for him. Hunter pulls up just inside the three. Hemingway chases it down.
Clemson has been a little bit more alert for those long rebounds. They've chased a few loose balls down.
And the Tigers just keep answering, showing great resilience and toughness. A team that's really been scuffling a bit prior to blowing out Pittsburgh over the weekend. Now Bohannon has to fire it up to beat the shot clock at the side of the backboard. And a good defensive series, or good defensive stand possession for the Blue Devils, and a 5-point lead for Duke as we're inside 12 to go at Cameron. Well, Duke has some pretty long home winning streaks against opponents. They've won 19 straight against Clemson. Brooke, what did Brad Brownell have to say to the Tigers in the break?
Yeah, transition defense has been a big point of focus for them, and you really feel it too because Clemson's taking a lot of quick shots, showing it. Jay, I know you talked about that quick three, and I think that's contributing to it as well. So you're taking quick threes, and then you're also just allowing Duke to get out in the open lanes and run. Yeah,
that's a good point, Brooke. And I think one of the things Clemson has to do is find some touches for P.J. Hall. I mean, he's their leading scorer. He needs to touch the ball a little bit more.
PJ sitting on 11 points. Banchero, they made it tough on him. Tyson with the rebound.
Yeah, good defense by Tyson, but then Banchero gets into you, knocks you back a little bit. There's Hall, just couldn't get the tip dunk to go.
Here's Roach, left alone for three, and it's no good. Baker goes flying in there. They're going to call Joey for a foul. And that's 4 on Baker.
This went right into Clemson rebounder's back. You can see Collins right underneath there. The issue is he didn't turn to block out. So there was contact there, but I'm not sure he necessarily went over his back. I'm not arguing with the call, but it wasn't crystal clear.
Baker's had a good shooting night, but he has spent much of the night in foul trouble. A couple of those in the first half. He goes back to the bench with 4, and A.J. Griffin returns for Mike Krzyzewski. Good to see Collins back in the game. Leave it on the outside, and there's a touch from P.J. Hall, just like you asked for.
Yeah, Clemson doing a good job. You know, they're getting back cuts, and Duke has been making Clemson run through their chest on those back cuts, but it's really not the back cuts that are going to beat you. It's the back cuts softening you up, so you give up an open 3.
Moore kicks it back to Banchero. Collins was off balance and then picked his pocket. The 11th turnover. What a steal. 8 steal for Clemson, and then they give it away on the offensive end.
That was all leather. What a great strip by David Collins. Just out of position, recovers, and that was about as clean as it can be. Didn't touch anything but ball.
Well, Clemson misses an opportunity there after the great play defensively from Collins, but still fighting tooth and nail, down by 2. How about Williams? Good free throw shooter, and hits one from the perimeter, and the big fella's in double figures.
He starts adding that. But P.J. Hall didn't give a second thought to getting out there to put any pressure on it. You start hitting that, you draw the defense out, then Banchero open in the post.
And Griffin is going to be called for the foul. It's his first.
Those are the kind of fouls, Reese, that have not been called this season. I mean, that one was obvious, but you know, impeding cutters has been an epidemic in the game, and it largely goes uncalled.
And when it goes uncalled, coaches use it as part of their arsenal.
Well, now coaches are teaching fouling because the officials just aren't calling it. So you just sort of admire yourself in games that become slugfest.
Rhodes working on Honor. Now kicks it back to Griffin. Bancaro, good look from the corner.
Just that simple penetration by A.J. Griffin through 3 defenders, and Bancaro wide open in the corner.
And just like that, the Blue Devils have pushed the lead back to 7. By the way, how good has Bancaro? The second half just smooth, patient. Then the offensive star, Collins, maybe discards, has to throw it up high. Hall gets hit in the face and a whistle there.
That really shows the presence of Mark Williams. You know, that shot by Collins almost hit the shot clock because he was worried about getting it blocked.
And foul's going to be on Williams. Incidental, but just everybody going after the ball. Mark, that wingspan, sometimes wingspan can get you right across the bridge of the nose. His first foul. Clemson with the ball down 7 inside 9 minutes to play in Cameron. Hall wanted it after he set the screen. Now he's got it. Williams showing Tyson the double. Tyson over Bancaro. Offensive rebound, and he didn't get it off in time. Shot clock violation, and another good defensive possession for Duke in the second half.
Well, Duke stayed home. Clemson didn't get any cutters off that post touch by Tyson. And they basically said, hey, if you can shoot over, go ahead and shoot over. But they weren't going to allow the ball back out for an open 3 by collapsing that defense.
Hunter got a hand on it. Moore recovers it. Clemson's been very active with the hands. Griffin gets in the paint. He can't get it to go, and Clemson has it. Honor pushing it ahead. Hunter. Good pass to Tyson. And he drills it. Hunter. Tyson with the 3. He has 9.
Boy, what a really good play. The shot fake, drive, and then the kick to Hunter Tyson. That's just really good offense by Clemson.
Clemson's made 10 3-pointers. Remember, this Duke team was holding teams since the turn of the year to about 23% from behind the arc. Clemson's hit 10 of 21.
Coming off a 12 of 25 performance against Pitt.
Duke hasn't shot it badly either. P.J. Hall with a great block out. Hunter's going to take it all the way. Another answer for Clemson.
Nobody stopped the ball. And you can see the athleticism of Chase Hunter, who's a good 3-point shooter that hunts his shot, but showed an extra burst getting to the basket in transition. A straight line drive. But here's the first play, the shot fake drive and kick by Chase Hunter. And follows it up. What does our friend Seth Greenberg call this? Validation of the prior play.
Michigan State, Illinois over on ESPN. Alfonso is filling it up.
I see what you did right there. He's knocked down 2 threes in this game already. It's the Illinois team that makes 10 threes per game, already with 8.
Up by 12. Meantime, Coach Baylor up big on K-State.
Baylor's starting to get healthy with Sohan and Villanova. Colin Gillespie and crew have 11 threes made already.
Reese and Jay.
All right, guys, Duke with a 2-point lead, just over 7 minutes to go. Strong drive by Moore, can't finish, and Clemson has a chance to tie or take the lead. Great resilience by Brownell's team in the face of every Duke charge.
Keep thinking of John Malkovich and Rounders. They're just hanging around. Clemson has really played well, and they played so hard in this game.
Jay, this is their 6th ACC road game. 7 of the last 11 will be at home, where they played much better. Hall trying to thread the needle. Collins turns it over, but this could really be a springboard with a lot of home games coming up down the stretch.
Yeah, and a real confidence builder, a high-value target. Boy, Jeremy Roach has had another good floor game for Duke. He's got 8 assists, only 1 turnover in this one. Duke playing without Trevor Keels. Guy is a top steals guy. Their top 3-point shot maker coming into this game.
Shot clock getting down to 2. Moore beats it, and Clemson gets the rebound.
Well, Nick Honor really did a good job blocking out the much bigger Paolo Banchero, then beats him down the floor.
Runs to the spot, knocks down to 3, and the Tigers have the lead with just over 6 minutes to play, an 8-0 Clemson run.
This is as well as Nick Honor's played in a while, and he is a good player.
And we mentioned earlier the shooting struggles. He hit a couple earlier, and how about the heads-up play from Hall? Bounces it off of Banchero's foot, and it's Clemson ball.
And Hall was asking for some help. One of his teammates, hey, pick me up, man.
They ought to pick him up. They ought to pick each other up. A lot of honor as Nick drains the 3, and Clemson trying to win in Cameron for the first time since '95.
Your Honor, Your Honor.
Welcome back. A 1-point lead for Clemson, and Nick Honor, who just hit that last 3, was on the scout team for Clemson in 2019. After that season, he committed to making 300 shots a day. Last season, it started to pay off. He was a spark for the Tigers coming off the bench. This season, he's a starter. And talking to Clemson staff guys, they told me that Honor, going from scout to starter, sent a message to the team that, you know, it's next man up. If somebody's off, somebody else can step up. His hard work has really breeded confidence in the team and chemistry. So far, they said that's helped them out the most in the pit game, but we might have a new one to replace that after the end of the night.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brooke. I mean, Nick Honor was an outstanding player at Fordham, playing for the Rams in another great arena, Rose Hill Gymnasium. He averaged 15 points a game for the Rams and made over 73s his last year.
And as we mentioned earlier, he only hit 2 of his previous 18 from behind the arc coming into this game. He's hit 2 of 4 tonight. And a huge one that Brooke mentioned to give Clemson the lead. Wendell Moore gets a deep paint touch. Roach shut down by Hunter. Shot clock down to 5. Roach finds an open Moore. Rebound Clemson, and Hunter just had a little rush and he kicked it out of bounds.
I'm not sure that whether he saw all that open space in front of him and was thinking more about getting going quickly to get that open layup. But overall, even with the late open 3 by Moore, that was a good defensive possession by Clemson.
Duke has missed 10 of its last 12 field goal attempts.
They're trying to isolate Banchero on the elbow. And he can go with that dribble handoff. Now the little 4 or 5 ball screen got the switch. Now he's got Hall.
Roach from the corner. And it's a much-needed 3-ball for Duke and for Roach. Blue Devils take the lead.
Just a defensive mistake by Nick Honor. Over-helping on Banchero when Banchero was going to take a tough 2. And instead gave up a wide-open 3.
Roach has been playing well in terms of passing the ball. The shooting has been a bit of a struggle. That was one he really needed. Hunter almost lost it again, working on Baker. Chase Hunter the pull-up. Chase Hunter with a tough shot to tie it.
But we talked about his ability to make challenged and difficult shots. He's the one player on this Clemson team that can do that. Brent Brownell was telling us about a shot that he made against Clemson, or against NC State. Good play by David Collins to come over from the weak side. He read that like a free safety.
He came over. You could just see his eyes light up on the lob. Clemson with a chance to regain the lead. Inside 4 minutes to play at Cameron. Here's Hunter again. Gets a screen from Hall. Hunter pulls up, lost it, gets it back. Shot clock at 5. Collins, the runner, the lefty, no. The tip by Tyson falls.
That looked like it was going to fall out and fell in.
Sometimes it's just going your way. Will it be Clemson's night? Just over 3 minutes to play. They won their last 2 games against top 10 teams, and both those were last year.
Looked like there was glue on that ball, kept it on the rim.
Now Roach has hit 2 in a row. Five quick points from Jeremy Roach. He has 8 with tied. And this is just what you expected. 11-point favorite in a fight and a finish coming here at Cameron. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college.
Mississippi State, Kentucky next over on ESPN. Coach, Oscar Tshiebwe has what?
He gobbles up rebounds like Pac-Man, but he's playing against a front court that is the #1 offensive rebounding team in the SEC in Mississippi State.
Game that starts top of the hour, ESPN. Meantime, our resident tennis expert, LaFonso Ellis, who's up next in the Australian Open.
One of the best one-handed backhand in all of men's tennis of that new generation.
Stefanos Tsitsipas, Reese, coming up.
John McEnroe on the set.
Let's go.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit Progressive.com. 2:55 to play. Tied at 65. Reese Davis, Jay Billis, Brooke Weisbrod with you in a raucous Cameron. If they expected a sleepy night and an easy rollover from the Tigers, they haven't gotten it.
And of the many things Clemson has done in this game tonight that have been impressive, I think the Tigers rebounding on the defensive end. They've had all 5 guys hustling on the defensive end. They've really allowed very few offensive rebound opportunities.
David Collins out to P.J. Hall from the corner. The 3 no good. Hunter Tyson fighting for it, but Jeremy Roach, who's played every minute of this game, gets the rebound for Duke.
Well, Clemson's had some offensive rebounding opportunities, most on long rebounds. But for the most part, they've limited Duke to 1 shot.
Moore, who's also been out there the entire night. Baker, the only guy in foul trouble, playing with 4. Joey's hit 3 threes, and now adds a 2 to give Duke the lead.
Tough drive. Had an arm bar on him the whole way, still absorbed it. That shot fake by Joey Baker is very effective in setting up that drive.
Under 2 minutes. Hunter, too much size around him to get the shot off. Hunter for 3. Left it short, rebound Moore.
A great look for Clemson. Their ball movement has been very good throughout this game.
Brownell up near midcourt, exhorting his team, trying to get a defensive stop. Banchero's
5-4 ball screen again.
In second half, Paulo Banchero over Hall.
You isolate him in the low post, that is a difficult matchup for P.J. Hall or anybody.
The Tigers have answered all night. They have 1 more in them. Tyson to Hall. Short jumper, left on the rim. Rebound Banchero, and a foul is called. Cameron Crazy starting to be able to smell it with 1:05 left, with just a 4-point lead. Coming up next over on ESPN and the app. Super Tuesday continues. Mississippi State and Kentucky at 9 Eastern. Then a top 7 matchup, Arizona and UCLA. That's coming up. We've had a good one to start the night here. And Duke trying to escape. 4-point lead in the ball, 1:05 to go. What should Clemson do defensively here?
Well, they've got to get good pressure. But really, you have to think about it. You're going to send a double team at Banchero. I mean, that was a big-time play by Joey Baker, and then the next play by Banchero. They're using Mark Williams to set the ball screen, try to get a switch.
Banchero might have had a chance at the dagger. Now Tyson's ahead of the field, and Clemson's within 2 with 38.6 to go. Timeout on the floor. We're gone for 30 seconds. Don't move. Two-point lead for Duke. Possession arrow goes to Clemson. 38.6 Duke basketball.
Right now, Duke doesn't have to be in a hurry, but after this great rebound by Hunter, looks ahead. Great job by Hunter Tyson of running the floor. But right now, Coach K just despondent off of giving up a layup after an opportunity to score. But right now for Duke with a 2-point lead, 38.6 seconds to go in regulation. Clemson only has 4 team fouls. So Clemson can be really aggressive defensively without fear of fouling. I mean, you don't want to give one away. But if Duke continues to run that little 5-4 ball screen with Mark Williams and Paulo Banchero, you can trap that thing and be aggressive and go for steals without fear of fouling. You don't want to give one away because you've got you got 8.6 seconds here if Duke used the entire 30 seconds if you get the ball back. But the problem is you give up a score, it's either a 4 or 5-point game.
Well, Clemson's played a lot of the game on the perimeter, and they've hit 11 of 24 from 3, but still only 1 free throw attempt tonight. They'll need to play some defense, and perhaps it'll come down to whether Duke can make enough free throws. Duke only has 14 fouls as well. On the ACC Network coming up Saturday, North Carolina State and North Carolina, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. You can see Armando Bacon and the Tar Heels against Darion Severon and the Wolfpack. If you don't have the ACC Network, go to ACCN.com and change that. All right, Clemson pressing in the backcourt. The aggressive defense you talked about. Duke with the ball in a 2-point lead.
You may see an initial trap, but right now you have no fear in going after a steal.
Baker pops open by himself. Now Roach will bring it into the front court. About an 8-second differential shot in game clock. If Clemson could get a stop, they would have a chance.
You have to think that you want the ball in Banchero's hands. He's made some good decisions.
Roach has the 5. Now Banchero has it. He goes over the top and scores. Paulo Banchero, and Clemson's got to hurry. Hall for 3. Nelson. Hunter Tyson. Double clutch. And with 1.7 to go, Clemson cuts it to 2. Did you like the way Clemson approached it? Were they aggressive enough on the defensive end?
Well, you would like to bring a double, but Banchero made such a quick move. I mean, that was a curl off of Banchero by Wendell Moore Jr. to clear that area to be able to get the ball into him. So the help would have to come from such a long stretch. It was just a quick, strong move to the baseline side. But I thought Clemson took the 3 a little bit early. You know, Nick Honor, if you had it to do over again, just attack the basket quickly, get the quick 2, and have more time on the clock to extend this game.
But they're going to check the clock and see just how much time is left. But Jay, I mean, Clemson's best chance now, they're going to have to keep them from getting it in bounds because they only have 14 fouls. They can commit 2 more fouls.
That's the problem, is you can't foul and put them on the line. So best case scenario is get a 5-second call. It's difficult to do, but next you have to go for a steal here. You can't allow a catch. You can't worry about a foul because you can foul a couple times with no time going off the clock. As long as it's not an intentional foul or an intentional grab. So it's being overly aggressive, but go for the steal without fear of the foul.
Duke has turned it over 12 times tonight, but only 4 times in the second half. Done a much better job of taking care of the basketball, and Blue Devils going to use a 60-second timeout. Paulo Banchero, after being plagued by foul trouble in the first half, has asserted himself in the second.
Yeah, had 5 points in that first half, only playing 9 minutes due to his 2 fouls. But in the second half, I mean, he's at 14 points. He's 8 of 15 overall from the field. He's hit a couple of threes. He's just made so many skilled, tough, smart plays. You know, getting Hunter Tyson off his feet or off the floor.
Everybody's entitled to one.
But knocking down the open 3 off the great drive by A.J. Griffin, and then the last play that he made turning baseline and making the tough 2 over Hunter Tyson. And he's had 4 assists. He's passed out of double teams. He's found shots for others. And you can see in the second half the value of having Paulo Banchero on the floor and not on the bench in foul trouble.
Duke tied in the loss column, first place in the ACC. Clemson, unless it can pull out something here in the last 1.7, is going to fall to 11-9, 3-6. But man, I mean, I think they've really shown something with the heart and the fight that they've played with tonight. They've had a few times when it looked as if Duke was going to take control and they just wouldn't allow it.
It has been a punch-counter-punch game all game long. And every time Clemson got punched, they punched back and had an answer. Brooks should have given them the test because they had the answer.
Bates-Jones is in now in the last 1.7. Banchero will have the ball.
And he can run the baseline. Right now, Clemson's going to face guard, switch everything.
And Duke's going to get out of the home game with a hard-fought 71-69 victory. Paulo Banchero was sensational in the second half. Wendell Moore Jr. played every minute, as did Jeremy Roach. He hit some big shots late in the second half, did Roach. And Duke escaped with a 71-69 win. Just what we expected.
Just what we expected. And Duke only turned the ball over one time in the second half. Big difference from the first.
71-69, the final for Jay Billis, Brooke Weisbrod, and our entire ESPN crew, led by our fine producer, Matt Barkley, our great researcher and stats guy, John Madry. I'm Reese Davis. Thanks for watching. Let's send you to Melbourne in the Australian Open, and good night from Durham.